I still remember the way the sunlight poured through the stained glass windows that day, painting everything in soft gold and rose. My wedding day. The day I was supposed to feel like the only woman in the world. My name is Emma, and for 28 years I had dreamed of this moment. Not the perfect dress or the extravagant flowers, but the feeling of being chosen, truly chosen, loved without conditions. After years of standing in the shadows, I thought I had finally stepped into my own light. My sister Lily was always the bright one, the loud one, the one who turned heads when she walked into a room. Growing up, people would smile at me and say, "You're Lily's little sister," as if that explained everything. She was 2 years older, taller, more confident, and she knew exactly how to shine. I loved her anyway. She was my sister. I met Daniel in the quietest way possible. He was a gentle architect with kind eyes and a laugh that made me feel safe. For the first time, someone looked at me, not through me, not past me, but at me. We fell in love slowly, beautifully. When he proposed, I cried so hard I couldn't speak. Lily smiled when I told her. She hugged me tight and said all the right things. "I'm so happy for you, Em," but I saw something flicker in her eyes. I told myself it was nothing. Sisters get jealous sometimes. It's normal. The morning of the wedding, my heart felt like it would burst with joy. I wore a soft ivory gown that made me feel like a dream. Daniel waited for me at the end of the aisle, tears already in his eyes. The ceremony was perfect. Vows were spoken. Rings were exchanged. Everyone clapped and cheered. Then came the reception. And that's when everything began to crumble. I was still floating on clouds when I noticed the whispers, guests turning their heads, my bridesmaids exchanging uneasy glances. I followed their gaze toward the entrance. There she was, Lily, walking into my wedding reception wearing a floor-length, pure white gown. Not cream, not ivory, bright bridal white. The dress hugged her figure perfectly, with delicate lace and a dramatic train. She looked like the bride. My stomach dropped, but I swallowed the hurt. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe she didn't realize. Then she smiled at me from across the room, that same bright, confident smile, and started making her way toward the dance floor as the music shifted to a slow, romantic song. She walked straight up to Daniel, placed her hand on his chest, and said loud enough for people nearby to hear, "Come on, brother-in-law. First, dance with me. It's tradition, right?" The room grew quieter. My heart started pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. But what I didn't know in that moment was that this was only the beginning of the night my sister tried to take everything from me. I stood there frozen in my own reception, watching my sister in white demand a dance with my husband. Daniel looked uncomfortable. He glanced at me, silently asking what to do. I forced a smile and nodded, trying to keep the peace like I always had. But inside, something was breaking. As they moved onto the dance floor, Lily pressed herself closer than necessary. She laughed too loudly at his polite words. She kept touching his shoulder, his arm playing with the lapel of his tuxedo. Guests were filming. Some were smiling awkwardly. Others looked confused. I felt invisible again. The same little sister who was never quite enough. Later that evening, during dinner, I pulled Lily aside near the garden entrance. "Lily, why are you doing this?" I whispered, my voice shaking. "This is my day, my wedding. Why the white dress? Why are you trying to take the spotlight?" She tilted her head, eyes wide with fake innocence. "Em, it's just a dress. You're being dramatic again. Can't I look nice for my little sister's big day?" Her words stung. Dramatic, that's what she always called me when I spoke up. But I let it go. Again, the night continued, but the tension kept building. I caught her whispering to Daniel when she thought I wasn't looking. I saw her showing old photos of the two of them from years ago, before I even met him, to some of our cousins. Photos I didn't even know existed. My chest felt tight. The joy I had carried all day was slowly turning into a heavy, sinking dread. Then came the moment that shattered me. I had stepped away to fix my makeup when I overheard two of my closest friends talking in the powder room. "Did you know Lily tried to stop the wedding?" One whispered. "She told Daniel 2 weeks ago that Emma was still in love with her ex and that this marriage would be a mistake." My blood ran cold. I stepped out, face pale. "What did you just say?" They looked horrified. They hadn't meant for me to hear. That night, piece by piece, the truth came out. Lily had been texting Daniel for months. Subtle at first, then bolder. She told him I had always been jealous of her, that I had emotional issues, that she was worried for him. She even sent him old screenshots of arguments we had as teenagers, twisted to make me look unstable. She had tried to sabotage the love of my life. Because she couldn't stand watching me finally be happy, I felt sick. The sister I had defended my whole life. The one I had cheered on through every boyfriend, every achievement, every spotlight moment. She had been quietly trying to destroy my future. I spent the next hour hiding in a back room, tears streaming down my face, replaying every moment of our childhood. Every time she had accidentally ruined my birthdays. Every time she had flirted with boys I liked. Every time she made me feel small so she could feel big. But the worst part, I had let her. For years, I had shrunk myself so she could shine. That night, something inside me finally shifted. The pain turned into clarity. The heartbreak turned into strength. The DJ announced it was time for the bride and groom's special speech. But I knew this was my moment. My hands were shaking as I took the microphone. The room quieted. Daniel stood beside me, supportive and confused. Lily sat at the front table in her white dress, smiling confidently, completely unaware. I took a deep breath. "Hi, everyone," I began, my voice soft at first. "Thank you for being here on our special day. Daniel and I are so grateful. But before we continue the celebration, there's something I need to say." I looked directly at Lily. "Lily, my big sister, you've always been the star, the one who shines brighter. Today, you walked into my reception wearing white. You demanded a dance with my husband. You smiled like it was nothing." The room grew deathly silent. "But what most of you don't know," I continued, voice growing stronger, "is that for months, my sister has been trying to destroy our relationship. She told my husband I was unstable. She sent him messages trying to convince him not to marry me. She tried to take my happiness because she couldn't stand that I finally had something of my own." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Lily's face went pale. She stood up. "Emma, that's not true. You're lying." I held up my phone. Not for show, but because I had the screenshots. I didn't read them all. I didn't need to humiliate her completely. But I read one line. One single message that proved everything. "Daniel, you deserve better than her. I've always been here for you." The room erupted in whispers. Some guests looked at Lily in disbelief. Others shook their heads. Lily tried to speak, but her voice cracked. For the first time in her life, she had no control over the narrative. The spotlight she had stolen was now burning her. She grabbed her purse and left in tears, white dress trailing behind her like a broken bridal veil. I put the microphone down. Daniel pulled me into his arms. The music slowly started again. Not for her, but for us. That night, I didn't just expose my sister. I finally chose myself. Moral reflection and closurements have passed since that day. Lily and I barely speak. She sent a long apology message that felt more like excuses. I read it, cried, and chose not to reply right away. Some wounds need time. But here's what I've learned. You can love someone deeply and still choose to protect your peace. You can be the bigger person without staying small. And sometimes, the kindest thing you can do for yourself and for them is to finally speak the truth out loud. I'm no longer the little sister living in the shadows. I'm the woman who took the microphone on her wedding day and chose herself. And I've never felt more free. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you loved, know this. Your voice matters. Your happiness matters. And sometimes, the most powerful revenge isn't loud or cruel. It's simply refusing to stay silent any longer. Until next time, stay strong, protect your light, and never let anyone wear one.